Okay, so these families come from 25 communities, and the way that they get onto the program is if they have a child who has severe malnutrition. So pretty much all the children, 80 to 90% probably of the children here have chronic malnutrition, which affects their development and stunting, which is why you'll see everybody so small here. But the ones with severe malnutrition, their health is at risk, their life is at risk very often. So if a family has severe malnutrition, then that in the family, and very often they'll have kind of like child deaths as well, they can come onto this program. And by coming onto this program, that child will be recuperated using the supplements which Charity Anywhere have been providing all the years since we've been going, 14-something years. And if they're under 6 months, they'll also get milk formula. So they come here and they do this, but what we don't want is that helps one child recover, but the next child and those children's children will have the same problem. So we do everything here at the same time while the child is being recuperated to teach them practices so that they can improve their diet, improve their hygiene, and basically address all the different factors that go towards creating severe malnutrition. So down there is so the families come in, and then down there is the training area. So they will have a session there and it's all, they can't speak Spanish, they don't read or write, so it's made to be very fun and like engaging, and that's what the workers are trained in. All the workers here have got years of experience of doing that. So it's made fun and interesting, and they kind of play games. So there's a theme every month that will be something like how to treat contaminated water, making sure you wash your hands and children's hands before you eat, because that's a very important part of the hygiene, hygiene in the home. So there's a theme every month, but there's also, and we can look at it later, a kind of a wheel. And on that wheel, there are different elements, and the aim is that you tackle each of these elements in your own home. So it'll be like having a proper latrine built, having your children vaccinated, having the animals in the house kept outside of the house. And so, the point is to then visit the families and to see how well they are doing in completing those different tasks. Then when they get to the end of that, we haven't got yet a prize, but there will be some kind of like an incentive. But in the meantime, their incentive to do it, because it's a lot of work and a big commitment, their incentive is that they're going to watch their child be brought back to good health and up to a normal weight. So they will do this, they start there, they have their kind of like education training session. And then at about 11 o'clock in the morning, they come up here to the kitchen, where they will, well, first of all, they'll go and pick some vegetables and whatever the food is needed for that recipe of the day, collect the eggs. And then everybody goes into the kitchen, and in there all the mothers together will learn to prepare a lunch. And it'll be something that they're not used to cooking, something that involves vegetables, because their diet is corn tortilla mainly and perhaps some beans. So they're missing a lot of nutrients. For example, we see blindness in children from lack of vitamin A, which we can get from various vegetables. So they'll go in there, they'll prepare, they'll be explained to them what this vegetable is, or this that they haven't seen before. They'll prepare the food, and then everybody will cook it together, and then they come out here and eat it, and then they go home in time to be able to walk home before it gets dark. So that's your kind of like average day here.
So how often do they come?
Each family comes once a month, but we have them pretty much every day, maybe at least 20 days a month they're coming here.
And how many people are you working with now?
So from here there are from 25 communities, I think it's maybe we're up to about 70 now families, but in the whole, because this is a test, I'll explain to you how this came about just very briefly then. So we have the centre that you saw up in the town.
They haven't seen that, I don't think.
We
Yeah,
have
they
some
came,
of
came
them.
last night. Right.
We went for a walk.
Okay. So we have that there because on market day, which is on Tuesday, is the main market day. You saw those big trucks bringing people. So there's one day where there's transport that comes from all the villages, from all around. So they come in on the market day, and so that's the day that they can come to the centre, and they get the ones that live very far away. And so we can do the same thing. We can't teach them how to grow food, but we give them education, they see films, and they get a child monitored. So we do that up there. But many, many families live hours away, and they literally, if they can't afford to eat, they can't afford to pay the fare to get the buses. You know, it could be $4 return, and they have no income, they have no money. So the idea, for a long time we've been saying, that means that the ones that are most marginalised already to start off with, that live the furthest away, the most isolated areas, become even more marginalised because they're the ones that can't get to the centre. It's a kind of pilot project of, okay, so what we do is we go to them. We will set up these little kind of like satellites, if you like, where we will do what we're doing up there in a very basic way, but we will also do the food training because we can have land. And if we can have land with water, we can do it all. And so this is the first one. We're opening a new one next year in a very remote area. And this was great to be able to start it here because this is where we started all those years ago in a village just down here. Was San Nicolas, and we did a water project and another water project. This is where Gordon first came with the dental group. And so we're starting here because it's close to the town and it means that we could trial the project here. Because when we're going to be doing it over there, there's no telephone signal, there's no internet, there's no nothing. And so we wanted to, be able to know how we were going to run it and that it would work. So anyway, it's working very well. And it's working very well because we do this, the families come, they have an incentive to come. Up there we have chickens there. And that's a very important part because most of the fatalities we see are from malnutrition, from protein malnutrition. So the whole thing about giving families, particularly where there's only one parent, the chickens is to provide a regular source of protein for their children. So the chicken part is very important in that. So we train people in the care of the chickens here. We have a tilapia pond behind with lots and lots of tilapia. We wouldn't have done that, but they were here when we arrived. There was a guy, that training area when we arrived was actually a big pig pen. And he had tilapia and pigs, and he decided he wanted to do cows instead, so he was kind of like wanted that. So there we have a model home. So there we do training in taking the families in and saying, this is how you need to have your home. Organise the kitchen apart so that the children aren't sleeping in the smoke. And so we use that as a kind of like, to demonstrate what we're trying to explain about hygiene practices in the home. That area, so it's a model home and it has with it this kind of model kitchen garden. So that area there is for cultivation. Everything's organic. So there we're growing beans, all sorts of things. We'll go and have a look and see what you can recognise there as like food that's being grown. We have 2 dogs that live up there, so we'll have the storage now to keep tools safely, but also to keep the products. At the moment, we have a volunteer house that Gordon built up on the hill there, which we're using for 2 things at the moment, not for volunteers yet, but we're using it for storage at the moment until we get the storage place. And also, we help here the government train midwives that go out to communities, nurses from all the communities. They don't have anywhere to get together and train. So this facility we share with all the other people interested in the health and well-being of the families that we work with. So we can go up there and visit it on the other side. And then we have a kind of like, there's a pineapple plantation there, and then we're growing corn as well on the other side of this hill now. And we can't talk about vitamins to people. They have no education. They'll never understand what a vitamin is. I mean, what is it? Have you ever seen one? I don't know. So what we do instead is we have an image of a mother and a child, and then we just have like vegetables and things pointing to the bit of the body. So we can say to the women, for example, if you eat these things, you're going to have really long, shiny, healthy hair. That's something that's really interesting that they can relate to. So that's kind of how we do the training here. It's very, very simple because we have to, you're dealing with people that have no experience in learning in any other way other than watching by demonstration, and no understanding of, most of their life is governed by superstition in some way. They're very religious people, but also superstitious.
Question 2. Do you have any government members?
No.
No government money. This is all privately funded.
Well,
From
the
various
people
sources.
have no government money.
No, nobody has any money. The government, the corrupt politicians have all the money.
Question 3, is there electricity here?
We just installed a solar panel. I haven't actually tried it yet, but the last time I was here we had light, so we have a solar panel. But there's nobody has electricity.
Rotary Salt Lake, the Rotary Club in Salt Lake, I presented them with her program, and then they jumped on that, and I was down here in a couple of months, and we went into the city, and we bought, and I didn't even know they were available, but they've got cameras, video projectors, and then they had sound projectors that all run off of batteries, and then she can go out to where the remote areas, and like she said, it just is a miracle for them to see that kind of stuff. I was so tickled that that all happened.
So we have to go out to the communities and do tours, basically, to the ones that can't get to the town, and so that goes with us, and so we're able to show to people who've never seen it, never have, and never will leave the village or see a television, so they're
That's right.
seeing these films.
Yeah.
We've got photographs of like everybody from this height up just standing with their mouth open looking at these screens because they've never seen anything like it. Anyway, but it's really worthwhile because you can see, well, in the centre up there we've got some before and after pictures, but over the years it's thousands now of children who have been. But it's not just, one, you want to stop them dying, you want to stop them suffering because it's a very, very horrible death to die slowly of malnutrition. It's really something, you know. But we want the families to be sustainable. We want them to learn how to prevent this happening in the future. So it's really it's 50% of recuperating the children, which is the bit that Gordon takes care of, and then the educating them as well.
The thing I like about it is once you've had the mothers go through this, you've not only educated the mothers, but hopefully you've educated the family.
Right.
And that's where I think in the long term it's going to pay off because the girls are going to be raised with, oh, mom always washed her hands. Oh, mom always did this when she was good. Oh, mom did this. So we're hoping that she will educate the family in the education she's given.
Leonel brought in this beautiful system. I think we've got it down there, and it's called tippy taps. And it's something because here water's very scarce. A lot of people are having to, they'll have to walk a long way to fill up, and they carry the water on their heads and stuff. So what you don't want is, and that doesn't help towards hygiene, because they don't have enough water to waste on kind of washing themselves. It all goes to cooking, especially if the father's away working. So what you don't want is that water gets wasted. And so this is a really lovely little system that we teach where it's, I should show it. It's a bottle like this. You get a 2-litre bottle and you put some holes in it and you just have it on a kind of like a pulley that turns it like that. You put your foot on it, it turns it like that, and then you just get a little bit of water comes out and some soap, and so you get just enough to wash your hands without having to waste it. And that costs nothing. It's because everything we do here, we do using only the materials that the families will themselves have access to. So that's something that they can do, which preserves water but kind of solves the problem of hygiene without any cost at all. It's just an ingenious little invention. So we're very happy when people can bring in these ideas.
Step on that.
Step on it.
Oh my
And it
word!
gives you just enough water to wash your hands with without... We're lucky here, and this is why we bought this land in particular, because we've got 2 natural springs. One feeds the fish pond and one we have for our kind of consumption. And then we've got the streams, which if it's not raining, this is nearly dry. So we're very lucky to have plenty of water to do everything that we want to do here.
Wow.
So they call it tippy taps. So we have a lot of children that are here when the mothers are sitting around here doing we have maybe 10 to 12 families at a time. And this is something to help the children learn to walk.
Do you put them in it?
Yeah.
And then they...
And they learn to walk.
Oh my
We
God.
have a lot of children with with cerebral palsy, for example, a lot of congenital problems that come from poor nutrition as well. And so this helps them to walk and to strengthen them. So we have these big organisations come in, and they come in on 4-year contracts into certain areas, they always leave before. They never make it the full 4 years. And the great thing for us is they leave us behind all their educational materials. So we have all these, like this was a USA-based program. So, I mean, for us to produce educational materials like this, we couldn't. So this is, you'll see some pictures of some children from here that have been, like there's a very malnourished child and the mother, and that's how it was afterwards. Some of the women in the kitchen, learning to cook, out in the kitchen garden. Here's this boy here with very club feet. It's another program we have. You see, like both of his club feet. And so we helped get his feet sorted out. It's a very long process, and now he's able to walk for the first time. He's from the village, so he comes here regularly. So that was something else that we do. There's spina bifida. So all these problems are in the families, and we find ways to connect them with organisations that can who specialise in helping children with those. Because they won't get diagnosed here, and they'll never get them prepared to be able to pay to get those problems.
Is there still a little community medical center, or are they gone?
Well, every village has a health post. And there is a health centre in Senahu as well. We're a block away from it. So they refer, if they get malnourished children, they refer them to us. If we have a child who comes with illnesses, infections or something, but is also malnourished, we will say, you have to go take this child and get the child seen by a doctor, and then come back. Because sometimes we have to kind of like put some pressure on the mothers to take the children to the health centres. Given a lot of these pre- and postnatal vitamins, because here there's a very high rate of maternal death in childbirth, and so and also lack of folic acid for the cleft palate. So we deal a lot with cleft palate. So this is something that we work with pregnant women as well. So that and part of their incentive is that they get Incaparina too. And then they also get pre- and postnatal vitamins. And this is a very, very basic, I haven't got my glasses on so I can't see it, but this is a map of the whole area that we're working in. So there are more than 200 communities in the whole area. So this is the main road that we came in on, and I guess this must be coming up to Senahu, so we're somewhere around here. So these are all, and you can see this is an entire mountain range. So what they did with this municipio, instead of doing something logical like saying, here's one, here's another, that you can access them all, they said, okay, so this is La Tinta, and this is another one, and we're going to make Senahu this mountain range, which means that from here to here, it's impossible to get to without going down here through these different towns to get to. So if you live here and you need to get some kind of paperwork from the town that you're actually a part of, you've got to go through 2 or 3 other towns to get to your town. It's totally illogical, but it's just the way that they obviously just said, so that mountain range. So this is where we're working, in this mountain range. And some parts of it coming up, like where we are now, we're at 200 metres, it's very warm. But we're also working at 2,000 metres, where it's really, really cold at this point. With kimchi, so this is basically we have for your heart and for your blood. These are the things we need to eat. But more than anything else, it's just to say, look at all the different colours of food and the different kinds of food that you need to be eating for all the different bits of your body. So for the lungs, all these green things. For the eyes, vitamin A from carrots and from eggs. For the brain, avocado. Avocado grows well here. And then Incaparina, that's the product supplement that Charity Anywhere pays for. The Incaparina Day. So that is also, they need to take that every day for the children. It's something that you can buy in the shops, but it's got the protein in it and all the nutrients. So if every child takes that every day, they really wouldn't have the problems that they have. So for example here, it's all very graphic, I'm sorry about this, but signs of danger in pregnancy, or if there's some signs of no, this isn't just in pregnancy, it's just you need to worry if a child's being very sick or is frothing at the mouth, then take them to the health centre. It's very more signs of danger here. You know, like a high fever and difficulty breathing. The biggest cause of death in children here under 5 years old is respiratory problems, and then the second biggest cause of death is diarrhea. Partly because you get a flu or a cold and you don't have the defences for your body to overcome it, so it turns into pneumonia very easily, and that kills the child. And also a lot of the time it's damp here and it's cold, and they don't have blankets and they don't have mattresses and they don't have clothes. These are the two forms of malnutrition. There's one form of malnutrition where the child, and we've got lots and lots of photographs you can see, where the child gets very bony and with a very kind of like shriveled face. So this is one type of malnutrition. And there's another kind, which is the protein malnutrition, where the opposite happens. All the child's body shuts down, the organs shut down, and it starts to kind of like swell up. Really until bursting. I mean, the skin bursts. It's really kind of like horrible. So these are the two most. When you see children in either of this state, the hair starts to break and discolour, and at the beginning you might look at a child like this and think that it's perfectly healthy because it's not all skin and bones, but actually it's more likely to die than a child in that. Which basically shows, here's a child with that kind of malnutrition, which says before and after, and then an older child here. Look at this child, how he was like a much bigger child and how he was afterwards with the Incaparina. It's just not recognisable. And so this poster goes up in all the villages, encouraging the health workers to send their children that they see who look like that to the centre in Senahu. Because the thing is here that there are lots of organisations and government departments that they go and they collect lots of data, but they never do anything with that data. And so the workers in the field are inclined to not collect details because they know nothing's going to happen, and we're trying to say, no, send your child here and something will be done, and it won't cost the family anything. So that's a long kind of process. Here is the kind of wheel that I was talking about, that this is every family that we work with has one of these hanging up in their house, where we do home visits, where each one of these is something that needs to be done. So this is your home and your kind of like land around your home. And each one of these represents a thing, like the latrine. I can't really see without my glasses, I'm sorry about that. Taking the baby to be seen and get its vaccinations.
Are they pretty good about getting basic vaccines?
No, not necessarily. And also you have to have, maybe in an area like this, yes. But also to have your vaccines, you have to be registered. And you don't, and if you haven't registered your baby, which lots of them won't in the remote villages, they won't register. And if you haven't registered by a certain age, maybe 3 months, you get fined every day. So what happens is you get these, and so if the mother's sick, she won't take the baby, it won't be registered in time, she'll never be able to pay the fine. So the baby will never be registered, so then it can't be vaccinated. And so you get this and it's all about bureaucracy. And so we just did some very nice videos with the guys, totally unscripted. I had no idea, just sent a volunteer up who came and said, I'll do some videos. And they kind of interviewed each of the guys, and I've got them. We can watch it on the projector one evening if you like. Okay. They're very sweet. It explains in their own words what they do, and it's translated. And in that, Roberto actually says, lots of institutions and other organisations, and they'll just come and take data, and who knows what they do with that data, but they never do anything to help the child. And the difference is that we will, if there's a child at risk, we will step in and do something. I can tell you, we had a big story. Oscar's been working on one baby for 10 days, just because it was the most ridiculous story. This baby just had tongue tie, and just needed to have this little thing cut underneath the tongue because it couldn't breastfeed, and so it was going to die within 2 weeks. It was very, very thin. They wouldn't touch it in Senahu, they wouldn't touch it in La Tinta. In the end, he had to take it. We were told we can give it an appointment to be seen by visiting doctors in March, he wasn't going to survive more than 2 weeks. And in the end, Oscar just took the initiative. He was in the village. He just put them in the pickup and took them to Coban. Through his own contacts, took it to the director of the hospital. And then we raised the funds to have this operation done. They charged $300 to have it done privately, because have it done in the national doctor system would mean going with the family several times to have appointments, to have tests. And this father, the family can't leave home without the permission of the father. The father's working away on a harvest. The mother's never left the village. And so Oscar managed to persuade them to leave, but he knew that this was just one opportunity he had, that he would never get them to do it. They had to go and stay overnight in Coban. He took them to his own place. And so, fortunately, this baby survived, one of twins. But no, if he hadn't done that and spent that time, and we hadn't raised the funds to do that as an emergency, for some procedure that took less than 10 minutes, no blood involved, in a very simple thing, that meant life or death for that baby, would just never have happened. And so that's how you see how life has just gone completely, here it's just fragile and they expect. So these are the chicks that are waiting here to go with the chicken coops.
Okay.
So this is their, well, I'm not sure they should be doing that, but this is their temporary. I don't think they should be doing that, frankly.
Pretty rebellious.
The big problem was before with the dogs, because when they were young they were chasing them all the time, but we keep the dogs now. So yeah, they'll be going out to start their lives with the chicken coops that you'll be. And all the families that you'll be going to have got some kind of like very especially difficult circumstances. You know, either they're widows or there'll be some kind of they're really kind of in very much in the. That's the kind of nesting boxes for the hens there. And we have a really good production of hens. And what we do now, which really works well, is for the mothers, we give them, they will have the hens, but they want to eat the eggs, obviously, in their families. So we give them our eggs, and they rush home, and they put our eggs under there, and those are the eggs that they don't eat, that they use to hatch. And so we have and it's a crazy system, but it works.
It works.
What we do, we've got a lot of big tilapia fish in here. They're very tasty, but it's really hellish to try and catch them. We've only ever eaten them twice.
Is that right?
We've got some enormous, very, very tasty tilapia in there. But what we do is we take the babies, we keep the babies in here, and then we give the babies to the family.
See
If you
the
can see some
tilapia?
fish, then that's the baby tilapia. Yeah, I think that's in here. And so we've got families where they have water spring to, then they can do the same thing. And all of this is all just generating from what we have. We have our planning. We have a planning week once a year. We're having it mid-January. And that's one of the things we've been talking about. We've got to find alternatives, like organic feed for the little fish. Now we know that you can give manure to the big ones, like so many kilos per meter per something. So we need to find a friendly farmer that we can do a deal with and say, we'll give you, a fish a month if you give us some manure.
So cow manure?
Cow manure.
Okay.
They get all their nutrients they can do from there. But, so this was set up to deal primarily with that. But the idea, once you have these places set up, is that then it can become, my kind of like vision is it becomes a community resource with lots of. So we're not supposed to be dealing with youth here, but it's something we can develop, and we've started. And we started because in Canguacho, which is one of the places you'll go to put the chicken coops, there was a boy a few months ago in the summer who committed suicide, a teenager, because he got two of the girls pregnant in the village. And so there's no way for him to be able to support those children, so he committed suicide. And so we've started here a course which is teaching the teenagers about, first of all, responsibility, respect, and all those kind of things that they're not learning at home. And then they learn about family planning and the role that it should have in their lives, and how not to have these kind of, those kind of problems. So because if you have teenagers with babies in that situation, bringing them into the family, it's another mouth to feed, that leads to malnutrition. But all these things, like with time, it's great. When we have that volunteer house going, I hope we will have lots of people come and share their special knowledge. Yeah, so this is the one we use for drinking water. And there's more of it. And we're lucky we have an excess of water, but we're just at the end of the greatest time of the year. And sometimes you see it really it's worried me in the past, where you see very little going. We don't know why, because it's coming out of the ground. With a stream, it seems that further up they've diverted the stream. Somebody's diverted some of the stream. So it's just, this was the big thing for us here, to have our own sort of source of water. It's a big luxury. Yeah. But it means that we can stay here kind of forever. We're not dependent on other water. No, this is lighting. This is what they use in the families as, don't ask me what that liquid is, but you burn this.
For light?
We'll have it, you come in here for dinner on Monday night, we'll have this set up as you'll see how the home works. This wooden structure is a normal home. And normally they have it just as one room with a fireplace in it. So what we want, one of the big things here was to say, it's really important to take the kitchen out so that the children aren't exposed to the smoke. So look, you can build a kitchen, you don't need wood, you can build a kitchen with just these.
Just separate it?
Yeah. Yeah, this is like a cane.
Is it cane?
Yeah. So this is a little kitchen, and you'll see on Monday night, I think we'll probably make the dinner here, so you'll see the women making tortillas. So this is what the corn gets. So the corn is soaked and cooked with lime. So all the kind of husks come off the corn, and then it's ground on this, which is, if you go to a museum of the mine, you'll find exactly this, 3 legs. That nothing's changed in thousands of years. This is exactly what it was.
Still works.
Then the other thing we do is, this is called a poeton for some reason, a big chicken. I don't know why it's called that.
It's the big chicken.
And this is really important that to have the fire lifted up, because there's a picture in the centre, and once we took here a child that was on the street covered in burns. I mean, it's regular that children run around and then they fall in the fire if the fire's on the floor, because the mother's distracted. She's got so many things going on. So this is very important that the fire gets lifted up. So it's another thing to show. And then another simple thing about keeping food. We talk about hygiene, keeping food, the flies away from food. The altitude that we're at, there's a lot. It's very, very hot, and a lot of flies. So just something simple like putting this chicken wire means that they can keep the food like fresh. Traditionally, they would go and get water in clay pots that were really very heavy. I've only ever seen one that still exists. But this is now what people will go, and that's what they will go and load up with water.
It's not as heavy.
Normally there would just be one big room, and so what we're trying to do is to encourage divisions, and I'll explain this. And one of them is that the table is not so much to eat, but so that children have a place that they can sit and do work. Because most houses you go to, there's nowhere. They're very dark, and there's nowhere for children to actually be able to sit down and do any kind of like work at school. So normally this would have the benches and this table next to the window, so that you can talk about how important it is that children have somewhere to work on it, and to work somewhere they can actually sit down to work on their school. This is a kind of like a very simple, typical ladder. One of the things as well is that they have like these pumps that you'll see people walking around with, that they put fertilizer or insecticide or poisons. It's really important to keep those out of the reach of children. So this is the idea, is to encourage people to put, we haven't got one of those things at the moment here, but to have a space that's out of the reach of children. So it's normal that everybody sleeps together, and it's really normal that you would have a family of 6 sleeping in one bed.
On
with
that
a parent.
bed?
Yeah. And so that's something that's not healthy for many, many reasons. It's really not healthy. So this is a way to encourage people to have the parents sleeping apart from the children. So you can put up a division. You can make the division out of, we'll show you there, like whatever it is, but they don't have mattresses, so they sleep
So what's on the bottom of that to give? Oh, just boards.
It's just boards.
Just boards.
They sleep direct on the boards, which they make this in the next door building.
Okay.
And partly the thing about the mattresses is culturally it's not but also a mattress, because I had one when I lived here. That they get just sodden with the damp, and they grow mushrooms. The average family has 6.6 children that we're dealing with. So what we're trying to say is this takes up a lot of space. So it's a really good idea to have bunk beds.
Oh.
So this is the same space, but showing how if you have it as bunk beds, then you have some storage to put clothes.
So is this a whole new concept to them, a bunk bed? They
and
don't.
It's funny
they've
because I've spoken to a couple of families and said, okay, so which do you prefer? Well, no, we don't want a bunk bed. In fact, we've given bunk beds to a few people, and we've gone back and they've cut and put it down the side. And do you know what it was? I couldn't understand this, and they said, well, we're just really worried that the one on top is going to pee and it's going to land on the wall. So you can never anticipate what the resistance is, but you've got to find out, because then it's very easy. You just say, okay, so
put
the
some
bunk
tin
beds are
under
for
it, you
children
know.
over a certain age. You know?